Hi there. Welcome to, it's like as soon as I start recording, either I get hiccups or something wants to come up. Anyway, welcome to the Pizzing with Les the Chef. If you're hearing me clearly today and it doesn't sound like I'm usually shouting into a mic, it's because I actually went and bought a proper mic. Okay, I've had a proper mic this whole time. If you go back to one of my earlier, I think I posted it at the beginning of the lockdown, my earlier videos explaining the equipment I used to record my videos and my food photography. I also showed you the mic I was using. And it is a above camera mic, so it sits on top of the camera. But the problem is, if the camera is a bit further, what human being tends to do is wants to shout at the thing that is further away from them. Even though I've done TV, it is still, you get into these bad habits. So I decided to actually go buy a proper lapel mic. Here it is. So no more shouting into camera. I can actually whisper and I can hit you with Barry White, and yeah. And if I burp, you can hear it clearly. Anyway, this is going to be a pretty technical video, hence me wearing my chef uniform. I usually don't wear my chef uniform if you've seen my videos. It's very on and off. Like, if I'm going to get technical, I'll tend to put it on, and if it's going to be a simple, quick thing, I tend to not wear it. This one is technical. It may be one of the simplest and most raised ingredients, because it's literally, it's chickens pooping it. No, actually they don't poop out eggs, they they lay them. Let's say that chickens lay eggs in the billions every year, and we consume them. Even if you tell people that you don't eat eggs, I will be happy to tell you for free that you probably eat them, and things that you did not realize have eggs. Unless you have an egg allergy, you would not know that eggs are in nearly everything. Like, if you like soups, for example, we use an egg float, an egg raft is what we call it, to clarify your soup. Consommes are clarified using egg rafts. Maybe one day when I decide to start heading into the more fine dining type of cuisine on the channel, we'll touch on those type of things. If you like marshmallows are made with egg whites. Meringue is obvious, meringue is obviously egg white. Chocolate mousses, if you like mousses, they have egg whites. A lot of the foams that used to be in fashion back in the day would use a certain egg white protein to get the foam to stay stiff. There's lots of dried egg whites to thicken certain soups and certain sauces. Custard, obviously. Ice creams, if you make them the Italian way. Gelatos, they have eggs. I could go on and on. There's eggs in nearly everything. But one of the biggest questions I get asked about the most is about breakfast eggs. You'd think people would understand breakfast eggs, and yeah, no. Someone actually thanked me in my last video for touching on all the simple stuff. She said it was cooking for dummies. It's not quite dummies. I think a lot of us who cook a lot assume that everyone knows how to cook. And you'd be surprised. Just the simplest things that you take for granted, a million other people don't know how to do. Hence me doing all these 101s. You start with the basics and then you can elevate your cooking. And that is why I do them. And eggs, weirdly enough, are one of the most covered topics on YouTube. Yeah. I didn't actually want to post this video, but I went and watched a few. I don't usually watch other people's cooking videos on YouTube because I want mine to be a certain way and I want them to be my way. Just like I've never been to anyone else's cooking classes besides the ones at chef school, because I don't want anything tainted in how I do mine. I don't want to be replicating what other people do. Same thing with this food channel. I haven't seen anyone else's YouTube food channel because well, besides the usual, like your yamli, is it yamli or yummy or, yeah, anyway, those ones, you know what I mean, those 2-minute ones, because I didn't want mine to be that way. Hence my videos being this way. Anyway, I digress. The reason why I went and searched how other people do it is because eggs are a very simple thing. But you need to understand them first. And a lot of the other videos do not explain eggs from the very basics. What is an egg? Why is it important? The type of egg you're using. Is it fresh or not? Why is that important? How do you go and cook with it? What changes in an egg that's going to affect what you're going to come out with? So that is what I'm going to touch on, because I find that the other videos don't touch on that. And yeah, as if it's a one-on-one, you want to go into that kind of detail. And that is what I do on my channel anyway. Anyway, before I carry on, let me get the eggs, which I've forgotten. They're meant to be next to me. In a second, I'll be back in the spot with an egg in my hand. Okay, well, I might not be in the same spot as my Christmas light bookshelf thing keeps going. I've given up on it, actually. If any of you have fairy lights, and they're the made in China variety, how do you get them to just stay on without blinking all the time? This thing has like 1 million settings, and you keep pressing a button. Yo. Anyway, meet egg. Egg meet YouTube. YouTube, this is an egg. If you've ever opened an egg box, you'll notice that eggs are always pointy side down. That is to keep them fresh. Even when you put them in your fridge, always pointy side down. Tapered it down. And also another thing is, I don't have a torch, I'll show you. To test if an egg is fresh in store, you would hold it up to a bright light. If your phone has a torch, just hold a torch to the side of the egg, and it will literally light up the egg, and you'll be able to see the yolk, and you'll be able to see an air sac. An air sac will look very hollow. The bigger the air sac, the older the egg. Okay, that's the only way you could test in a store. I was about to tell you you could shake it, but then don't do that. Don't go around shaking eggs in store. Besides you possibly losing grip and it going, it's going to mess up the egg on the inside. Yeah, I was going to explain the albumin and other things, but you don't need to get that technical. You're not becoming chefs from my channel, so I'll leave you alone with that kind of stuff. So the reason you want a fresh egg is because to make poached eggs, the fresher the egg, the better your poached egg. People always say when they're making poached eggs, literally they break the egg into the water and it all runs. It means you have used an old egg. A fresh egg will have egg white that is tight. It will be gripping on the outside of the egg yolk, almost like a glue. Remember when we made paper mache at school? It's like a sticky glue that sticks to the egg yolk. That is a fresh egg. That is also important for sunny side up eggs. And it's also important for egg whipping. So if you're making a meringue, or if you're going to be making a souffle, you want to be able to whip those egg whites so stiff that they hold their form. Hence, you want a fresh egg. Okay, so fresh eggs are for, as my mind wanders, are for poached eggs, for making sunny side up that's beautifully round, and for whipping. You can use older eggs for making scrambled eggs. You can use them for making omelettes. That's fine. So just because your egg is not fresh anymore does not mean you must throw it out. You can use older eggs for that. But if you plan on making what I'm going to show you today, poached eggs, you need to use fresh eggs. And then another thing with sunny side up eggs is the type of egg. You get organic eggs, you get free range eggs, you get broiler, and then you get barn raised eggs. We don't really have barn in South Africa. We get organic, free range, and normal broiler eggs. Broiler eggs won't tell you what it is. It will just say eggs, large, small, medium, and jumbo. And yeah, those are the the categories we get in South Africa. So if you're watching this in another country, it might be different for you. And then a large egg is about 52 grams. The reason I say it's important to know what type of egg you're using, if you are going to be making custards, organic eggs and free-range eggs will tend to have a very orange yolk. That means you're going to have a very beautifully colored custard. If you're using just any random egg, you're going to have a very yellow yolk, which means your custard will have a light beige, blondish color. So when I'm looking to make custards, we always look to use free range and organic. Also, it's sunny side up eggs, especially now with people with the gram. The gram, trying to take beautiful pictures of eggs, you want them to have a nice orange yolk. Please don't filter. It's so obvious to see when someone has filtered an egg picture because the egg yolk just doesn't look normal. So rather use organic or free range eggs. The best would be free range. Those are your everyday chickens running around eating worms and whatnot. Organic does not mean it does not sit in a broiler. People confuse the two, organic and free range. They think if you are saying something is organic, it means that the eggs come from a chicken that was free. No. Organic just means the chicken was fed organic food meal. So it can still be in a broiler, but it means it wasn't given hormones, it was just given organic ingredients to eat. Whereas free range, the chickens literally roam free. It's the chickens that we know on farms that just roam around, and then boop, in the morning, as they make their noise, they drop an egg or two. With free range eggs, you'll have different colors. You can tell them apart because when you open a tray of free range eggs, there's no uniformity in color. Some will look grayish, some will look almost like a purplish color, some will look very light, some will look like a very dark color like that. So with organic, the tray of eggs will always be different. And even the size with organic eggs tends to also change a lot in a tray of organic eggs, unless it's a very organized farmer who sold the organic eggs, the free range eggs, sorry. They tend to also be different sizes in a box. So free range are the ones that you want if you're doing it for the gram, if you're doing beautiful looking breakfasts and stuff like that. But yeah, scrambled eggs is the second one after poached eggs. The one I get asked a lot about is also scrambled eggs. And you'd think scrambled eggs are simple. And then you visit someone and they make you breakfast in the morning and you realized, wow, not everyone knows how to make proper scrambled eggs. Yeah. I'll explain it as I make it, how you make proper scrambled eggs. But scrambled eggs should not be dry. It shouldn't be that crumbly thing. Like, yeah, it's like people with medium steak, I guess. So it's just my personal opinion. They should be moist. And I'll show you how I get mine moist. I'm not going to show you any other way. So if you don't like the way I make my moist scrambled eggs, that's your baby. It's not mine. I like them this way, okay? And then there's one thing I'm forgetting. Oh, the types of eggs. Well, not the type of eggs, but anyway, when someone asks you at a restaurant, how would you like your eggs done? And you say, I want it sunny side up, but flipped over. As soon as you flip it over, it's not sunny side up anymore. So waiters are very polite sometimes because they'll hear you and they'll just nod and say yes. Whereas I would correct you and tell you, no, you are not ordering sunny side, you're ordering over easy. So over easy is when you take your egg and you flip it. And without you even telling me how do you want it, well done, medium, runny yolk, by... Okay, I was about to say by law, but the norm is if it was a fine dining restaurant, your eggs would come with a medium egg yolk. So you cut into them and the egg yolk should run. That is standard. That is how a poached egg is also judged. The egg white needs to be solid, but then the yolk needs to be runny. Chef competitions, that is how your egg yolk is judged. When you poach an egg, when you have a boiled egg as well, it needs to be very bright orange. as soon as you start overcooking a boiled egg, it starts to get that sulfur layer on the outside, that gray, greenish color. That's because you overcooked and the sulfur is starting to react. So they judge if your yolk is actually slightly runny in the middle. I'm sure you've seen it on BBC, when BBC Food Channel, when they do the favorite scotched eggs. They always cut into it and then they wait to see if the yolk is still runny. So it is considered the norm if you are in a a fine dining restaurant, that the yolk should be slightly runny. So your poached eggs will come that way. But with the world being the way it is now, you are given options, and sometimes waiters don't correct you, or they don't tell you what your options are, and that you are wrong by ordering a well done poached egg. It is your money, so they keep quiet. They just want a tip. Sorry about that. The birds are going crazy outside. But yes, I have my eggs with the runny yolk. I like it that way, but it is your own. So if you're at home and you want it well done, you can just leave it in the water a bit longer, and yeah, you'll get your well done egg yolk. But yeah, enough spice, enough of me being all shady and stuff. Let us get on to egg making. This is how you make poached eggs, scrambled eggs, sunny side up, over easy. And I'm going to make an omelette. There is a universe of eggs, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but I'm only going to touch on those 6. Well, five or six. I'm not going to go into boiled eggs. I'm not going to go into all the other type of egg varieties. Yeah, because otherwise we're going to be here for hours. And most of the other egg making videos I've seen on YouTube just show you one thing. Whereas, yeah. So if there's any other type of egg you'd like to watch, to the left, there are other channels who will touch on it. I'm not touching on them because they're pretty straightforward, they're pretty simple. The ones I'm going to show you are the basics, and if you get these right, then you can get anything right. Cool, coolio, shop. Okay, the first one we're going to start with, relatively simple, but the one people struggle with, sunny side up. This is a cold pan. The trick with making sunny side up is to get your pan hot without any oil first. So I'm going to get the pan hot and spray, non-stick spray is your friend when you're making sunny side up eggs. Always non-stick spray. Some people use butter in the pan. Some people prefer to use oil. I prefer oil because oil has a higher burning point, which means you can get your pan super hot. Whereas butter starts to burn very early on. Okay, our pan is hot. I'm going to pour a little bit of oil in there. You don't need that much oil when making sunny side up eggs. I have worked in establishments where the chefs, to prevent any mishaps, went and put like a bath of oil in the pan. No, the trick is having a quality pan. A quality pan stops stickiness of eggs, and it also means you don't need to use that much oil. So I've got the oil in there, and now comes the spray and cook. Need to be generous with it. And break your egg. Fresh egg, remember, will be a round egg white. That is a fresh egg. And you keep your heat on high. And that is how you make a sunny side up egg. The egg white is still a bit watery, so this is where you'll turn your heat to a medium because what you don't want is the outside of your egg browning. Okay, so you get your egg to medium, and that over there is a sunny side up egg. And now I'm going to show you over easy. Same thing in the pan. Keep your oil hot. Spray and cook or non-stick spray. You'll notice I didn't salt my eggs. What salt does to egg white is break it up and make it more watery. Okay. There we go. I got a bit of shell in that one, unfortunately. The browning on the outside is from the dirty oil. I should have actually wiped my tray down. And with an over easy, I've actually turned the heat slightly lower. But you see it moves in the pan. This is the effect you want. You want your egg to be able to move in your pan. It's why I say it is important to have a quality pan, non-stick. Then with over easy, you get underneath and you flip it over. Few seconds. You're literally just cooking the egg white, not the egg yolk. Okay, and there's your over easy done. Also, you should be able to move in your pan. And there you go, over easy. Sunny side up, over easy. Now let's move on to scrambled egg. Okay, now we jump onto scrambled eggs. New pan, cold. With a scrambled egg, you don't necessarily need a non-stick pan. Okay, so into your cold pan goes some butter. I'm only going to show you a 1 egg scramble because, yeah, I don't actually need so many eggs. Okay, and then you into your pan. Oops. Now you switch your heat on. And you use a spatula. Preferably use a rubber spatula, but this one will work as well. And from the get-go, you keep stirring. With making scrambled eggs, the trick is about temperature control. Keep stirring, scraping the sides. No salt either. Salt is going to break up your egg white and it means you're going to have runny scrambled eggs. Okay, so after that you take her off the heat and you keep stirring. Keep stirring. Keep stirring. Then back on the heat again. Back on the heat, keep stirring. Remember, this is just a 1 egg scramble. You should preferably be using 3 eggs. Keep stirring, and then off the heat again. Keep stirring, add it. Temperature control. Okay. Now you can actually switch the heat off. And what I like to do is add a little bit of cream. Oops. And still on the hot pan, you keep stirring. So you'll be doing this with 3 eggs, not 1. Okay, and now you can switch the heat on a little bit again. And there you go. Salt, pepper into the scrambled eggs, done. There you go. Moist, soft, fluffy scrambled eggs. That's the effect you want. Nice and creamy. You don't want it to be scrambled like you're making dried, I don't know, popcorn or whatever it is. Fluffy all the time, flavorful, and you only season it towards the end. Okay, on to poached eggs. Please excuse the weird angle. That's because I'm trying to avoid my camera being right above steaming water. It's a bit of an expensive camera. Okay, on to poached eggs. Someone was asking me on Twitter, is there a need to actually add vinegar to the water? And they were telling people no, there is no need, and I was correcting them and saying yes, there is a reason why. Vinegar causes the protein in eggs to coagulate, which means your egg white will not run as much and it will set much quicker. It's why we add vinegar and lemon juice when we are whisking egg whites, when we're making meringues and souffles and mousses. Okay, that is the science behind adding vinegar to water. That is just about a tablespoon. You don't need more than that because you don't want to be changing the flavor of your egg. And you'll notice my water is not boiling. Never use boiling water for making poached eggs. Simmering water. Simmering is when it's just steaming at the top. Stir it. And I think my gas just finished, but it's fine. We create a whirlpool effect. A fresh egg, and you break your egg to the side of the whirlpool so that the egg white spins. Okay, you notice there is no egg white anywhere else in the water. It is all around the yolk, and the water is not boiling. If your water is boiling, it breaks up your egg white. You're going to let it simmer in that hot water for about 2 minutes or so. Just keep an eye on it and keep testing by putting a spoon underneath it gently and stirring or shaking your water. You can tell by how the egg white moves whether it's ready or not. Remember, we just want the egg white to cook. We are not cooking the egg yolk. The key to a perfect poached egg is in the yolk being runny. Okay, you see how it's floating? My water's starting to boil, so I'm gonna decrease the heat a little bit to a very light heat. I'm actually gonna just switch off the heat now because the bubbles are coming through strong. And there you go. That is a perfect poached egg. Lift it up to camera. See, the yolk is still jiggly, but the white is set. Perfect poached egg. And you just cut off anything that might be hanging, and that is how you poach an egg perfectly. Okay, now on to the last category, how to make an omelette perfectly. So with scrambled eggs, make sure your fillings are all cooked beforehand. Whether it's bacon, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's onions, whether it's tomato. I'm making a simple one because it's only for demonstration. I like omelettes that are filled with a lot of things, but yeah, we're on a lockdown diet, so I'm making a vegetarian omelette with simple ingredients, just onion and mushrooms. I'm gonna maybe sprinkle some chili on it later. Okay, these are done. I like my onions still to be slightly al dente, and they'll carry on cooking in this pan on the side. Okay, omelette time. It's the same pan that I use for my sunny side, non-stick. You can see it's well used. Yeah, it's on high heat just to get the pan hot, and then I'm going to turn it down to a medium heat. When you're making omelettes, you want the heat to be medium to lowish. Actually about medium. Low might be a bit too low. So I'm going to turn it now to a medium. Get your oil in your pan. Get that hot, and then turn that around in your pan. Make sure it's well coated. Same setup as we did with the sunny side up. Get the pan hot. Spray and cook as much as you can, even on the oil. This is how I do it, and I've been doing breakfast for years. Now your egg yolks. We're making a 2-egg omelette. Normally it is a 3-egg omelette, but I'm only one person. I don't need that many eggs. So with a 2-egg omelette, it means it's going to be thinner. It's a bit more difficult to make a 2-egg omelette than a 3-egg. Whisk it well. You want that rich egg yolk to get into your egg whites. You don't want to see any pieces of egg white, because that actually does affect your final look. And into your pan it goes. It's a medium heat. Okay, spread that around, get it in there. If you need to, lift up the sides, get that. You see how it moves in the pan? That's because of the non-stick spray. And even though it's still a bit runny here, this is when you fill it with your filling. So my filling is going to go in the middle. I'm not going to show you the fancy folds that we do in fine dine kitchens, because you are not watching this to become chefs. I hope not. Then you switch your heat off. To fold an omelette, one side over, that is the easier way. If you're in a fine dining restaurant, you would actually take this side and fold it that way as well. Simple as that. There's your omelette. Actually, I did it off camera. Sorry about that. And it's too late now to reflip it, but I did it off camera. And voila. Those are all the eggs I taught you today. The scrambled looks a bit dry because it's been sitting. Scrambled should be eaten immediately after serving. I'm not serving, man. Immediately after serving it. So from the pan onto the plate and served immediately. Do not let scrambled eggs sit. But what I'm going to show you now is how soft it still is. Look at that, it's still creamy. So that technique will keep your scrambled creamy. They will not go dry and thick and stodgy like you would normally. Okay, so this you could actually just heat up and it'll still be nice and soft. Hope you've learned something or two or three. Sunny side up, over easy, poached egg, scrambled egg, and an omelette. Easy peasy. Well, not quite easy peasy, but practice makes perfect. You can do this as well yourself at home. Just practice all the techniques I've shown you, and yeah, you'll get it right as well. Hope you enjoyed this. Later.